Welcome to Beyond the Den. Tonight, we're chatting with the Woolish1, a true wolf game virtuoso, known for his analytical prowess and the creator of WGLeaderboard.com. He's a master at navigating the game's intricacies. The Woolish1 brings a unique blend of data-driven insights and gaming enthusiasm to the table. Get ready for an engaging conversation filled with insider knowledge and a dash of fun. What is up, the Woolish1?
Hello, Dio. Thank you so much for having me on, and congrats on your own appointment yourself to the council.
Thank you.
We've got a few great people on there already, and I am excited to talk with you and share about why I would love to join the crew.
Sure. That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. So with your significant involvement since day one, why are you running for the council, and then what unique perspective do you bring?
Yes, and full disclosure, I am a day 2 Wolf Gamer, I believe.
Okay.
I saw a good dip and got in. But
Nice.
yeah, since that day, Wolf Game has been a big part of my life for sure. And yeah, I mean, why I want to be on the council is mainly just because I've put so much time caring about this game. Like, I love the community. The community is comprised of many impressive individuals who've both had a lot of success within the space and outside the space. And, you know, like, in that regard, like, there's a lot of people I look up to within the community. And that is also why it would be such an honor to be chosen, because there's a lot of great people here. There's so many very qualified candidates, people that would definitely help get Wolf Game to where it should be, which is back where it was, up in the top of OpenSea ranking. And I'm glad that a lot of people who've been around since the start are the ones nominating themselves for this council, because we've definitely lost a bit of that magic. But we all got a taste of that magic, and that's why we're still here, because those moments we've had that have just been so engaging and fun for everyone. The risk we had early on, there's been so many great experiences. And I feel like we're kind of missing those great moments. We haven't had a ton in a while. So that's definitely that's what I hope to be able to bring back to Wolf Game.
Sure. Yeah, great answer. So you would say then the community is what's really kept you engaged and dedicated to the game over time?
Yeah, I mean, we've been here so long, and it's not like there's updates every day, and we've been so patient. We've had such a long, I mean, in what we got in 2022 with Alpha Game, Cave Game, I loved Farmer Reveal. We got the merch, like, those were big things, but in between, like, we were just hanging out, like, writing it out, seeing what was coming next, and we got full game delay, 6 months. And, you know, that was more like, what else is there to do than at that point, like, be a part of the community? And so I would definitely say a big part of why I'm interested in Wolf Game is this community we have, and how even at these depths of the bear, like, there's still so many people that care. But also, I mean, the game itself, I love. Like, I think from the initial Wolf Game was just so captivating. Like, as soon as I read the first white paper, I was like, wow, like, this is not like other NFT projects that I've been minting the last few weeks, months. Like, this is completely different than anything that's been released.
Sure.
And I like the lore initially. Anon Shepherd, you know, we had Beanie championing it. And yeah, I mean, it was just so electric early on. And even with full game, like, when I was worried about full game, and honestly, when I first read the first wallpaper or the detailed wallpaper, I was pretty bullish on what was coming, because, like, I think if you read that, like, that's a great foundation for what we have, like, for Valley Game. Obviously, part of my conviction at that point was also tied into the fact that this would be continuously iterated on, and we would get lots of updates and developments, because in my view, like the hardest work was behind,
Yeah.
and now they can kind of like just keep on building this up. The hardest work's behind, like should be easy wins ahead. Iterate as you can. And that kind of didn't happen because now, like peak games obviously must have taken up most of their bandwidth, and Valley was kind of neglected. But there's still so much potential with the foundation we have. Yes, there's some things that are broken today, but it's so early on in the game's life. Like there's solutions. People might be upset at some of them sometimes, but there's a lot of ways to make the game better, and I think that PV is aware of that as well, and I think that PV knows. I think they'll figure out what needs to be done to make it better, and and I also think with my understanding of all that's happened and of Valley game and how everything ties together, that's kind of why I'd be a good piece on the council to provide my input and feedback.
Sure. Very cool. You talked about some easy wins, right? And some solutions. If you were sworn in, is like, what would be your first thing that you would want to address? You're like, where do I start?
Well, I mean, in easy wins, I guess I kind of mean that zoomed out a bit. Like, there's nothing that can't be fixed. And in that sense, but yeah, easy wins. I mean, I think what they've done with this Farmhand Council vote, I think I'd really like to see how this is played out. I'm a big proponent of supporting wool and wool value. And I think governance is very important. And I love how it's kind of brought some people, I feel like it's kind of re-engaged some people, this process, seeing people put themselves forward, wanting to know how to spend their votes. I love how governance can kind of bring the community together like that. And obviously the biggest bags matter in this voting setup, but like there's still a lot of power that can be had with the masses. So I really like how that's kind of engaged everybody. And I'd love to see more governance going forward. And then another win, I think. But I also kind of understand PV's perspective, but many people have talked about it, like leaderboards on the peak. I think I've played more peak than almost everybody in Wolf Game. I'm at like 720 games played. So I've been there. Like I'm playing peak at a negative EV rate. I'm slightly ahead, but when there's 5% removed from the prize pool each round, like that's felt, and it's not conducive for growth because the odds are 50-50, but you're not winning. But there's only 95 to win. So I mean, in the long run, like it's kind of hard to outperform that. And
especially if you're not an avid player, right? There's no shot that you're jumping. There's no shot I'm jumping in right now against somebody like yourself. My odds are already stacked against me almost double time because of the skills and knowledge that you have. And I do love the fact that it's skill based for sure. I think that's important, right? Can you speak to a little bit about the leaderboard in that sense? And like, so you started WG leaderboard, which was awesome for resources. So thank you so much for that amazing tool. And for ones that really focus on being at the top, I think is awesome. I find myself perusing it every now and then, and I feel like I'm like doing okay. And then I see the leaderboard and I'm like, oh, what the there are some serious addicts in here. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, and yeah, so that the leaderboard, the one I made, Wolf Game WG leaderboard, I was kind of like, and this is still kind of the case, it's kind of like there's not like a ton of point to many things you do with resources not being valuable, because like myself, I need some grass to breed, and that's all the resources I need, and that's been that way for months. So I like how the Wolf Game leaderboard has kind of added. I feel like it's kind of helped people hold their resources a bit and still enjoy accumulating them, because you're not like getting it right now. Like, you're not getting farther in the game by collecting resources, but you are climbing the Wolf Game leaderboard on my site. So I like that part. And I think it is a motivator to players to see them making progress and being able to measure and quantify that progress by themselves and also against others. And then I think when you're talking about a peak leaderboard, like it's incentives are such a key to Wolf Game's next steps. Like, we need good incentives. Incentives have been Wolf Game's best moments have been because of good incentives, and it started with Wolf Game V1 when you're earning a bunch of wool each day and your wolves have a chance to steal seats. Like, that's an incentive, strong incentive to stake. And then Cave Game, your incentive to play every step you can is because your next step could get you a gem worth thousands of dollars.
Sure.
And Alpha Game, same thing. Like, of course, well, I did terrible in Alpha Game. I was on Corey's pack and I walked out with very little wool. But some people did well in Alpha Game. And and that was all due to incentives too. And that also helped get wool pumped up. Yeah. And with the peak leaderboard, like, I'm playing now, I've played as much as I have because I like Wolf Game and I want to play Wolf Game. And there's not a ton of ways to play Wolf Game right now unless you have a massive bag. And have a ton of wolves to loot with.
Yeah, you're like on the sideline being like, put me in, coach. I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to play these damn games. Give me something here. Yeah.
And I mean, I still enjoy playing Valley, but it's like I want to play Wolf Game, so I'm going to play Wolf Game if I can.
Sure.
Until it makes a negative financial impact on me. If I start losing too much on the peak, I'll definitely I hope I'll slow down. Yeah. But it's been okay so far. Yeah. But I mean, I think with the peak leaderboard, I think it needs to be incentivized to play the peak. I think it's a good foundation, but that with a little more juice on top of the stack, I think it really will make players more interested. And once people are playing, like, then you can kind of think about, then more exciting things can happen. Yeah. But no one is playing, so it's kind of hard to get too excited about anything to come right now. It would take a big shift to get a bunch of people in. Yeah. It's like they nailed it with the wallpaper, right? And they've created this amazing backbone and foundation. And then I think they got pressured by the community to create peak a little bit sooner than later, right? So they took their eyes off of Valley, but they brought us to a point of at peak where it was awesome, but then they're missing a key piece, which is the leaderboard. So it's like they're like, and there's like we talked about, they have the ingredients, the foundation is strong on both of them. I think the peak games are sick. I think they're like awesome. And super creative, right? So can you talk a little bit about some incentives that would motivate you? I know leaderboards are, just to be, hey, I want to be at the top, right? There's just in that there's the ego-esque, right? Which is, we all have a little bit of egos. We want to be at the top, right? But do you have any specific ideas for incentives or thoughts on that? I mean, I think first I'd like to see wool being the community rewards we've developed, which I think is like 35 million. Like, I want to see that get issued out through. Well, in that regard, it sounds like points are going to come into play. But in terms of other incentives, I kind of just want wool. But I know there's a lot of other people that want some other things. And I do think, and I know some people have talked about more like Club Penguin type stuff. And I don't see that as Wolf Game, but I do think there could be some like power-ups that could be issued. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
you have this let's see, shed on your
Yep.
plot of land, then like your average Joe farmer can protect for like 16 days instead of 8.
Yeah.
Like I
Because
could
he can
see,
live there in the shed.
yeah, or something like,
Yeah. Yep.
and I could see maybe some sort of assets being created and that wouldn't have to, well, I mean, well, that maybe it could be on chain because, we have Reboot coming and Reboot is on
Mm-hmm.
Arbitrum Nova,
Yep.
but on ETH, it wouldn't make sense putting something like that on chain.
Sure.
But I
Yeah.
do think down the line the team could get more creative with incentives in terms of adding like power ups or in-game assets like a
Mm-hmm.
pickaxe, like
Yep.
in cave, like you can kind of follow Cave Game in that regard. Those
Yeah.
could be one set of incentives. You play a peak game, you spin a wheel, you get a pickaxe or
Yeah.
a sandwich or something else.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, in terms of that, I think there's a lot of, I think wool is the key. I think wool should be the main incentive. I think people should I want to hold wool, and I think that
Yeah.
TV should develop in a way that makes others want to hold wool. And it sounded like that's what they were planning on doing from the spaces with
Mm-hmm.
Goose and the podcast with you. They definitely, I think they see wool as an important part of the piece in terms of incentives, but I
Yeah.
do think they can get a little more creative on top of that down the line.
Sure. Yeah, and Goo's having a background in tokenomics is kind of interesting, right?
Yeah,
And
I mean, and I love, go ahead.
no, I was going to say most people don't want to hold wool right now or be incentivized by it because it doesn't have any value, right? But I think that could change easily. Not easily, right? But with the right people behind the wheel, which is where we
Yeah,
are. Yeah.
yeah, brick by brick in that regard. Like I
Yeah.
think this farmhand council though, I think that's one brick that PV's laid. I think
Yeah.
it's added utility to wool because now your wool can be used to, and it's not game changing this vote
Sure.
in terms of wool value, but it is adding value to wool.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad to see that. I think it's a step in the right direction.
Sure.
And yeah, I hope they keep finding fun ways to let us govern.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of governance, right? What would you say to the smallholders that look at the whales in the game as kind of running things? What would you say to
Yeah,
them?
yeah. I'm in the Citadel, and I understand. I mean, I started as a small holder though. Like in Cave Game, I didn't really stack Wolf Game assets until um, run up to the 6 months prior to full game and a little bit after full game release. And before that, I only had like a few sheep, a few land, a few farmers. Now I've got wolves because I thought I was buying the bottom at 1 ETH. So I've got wolves 2 now and that prize black wolf that I love. But I
Yeah.
think for smallholders, and I also think that the team and PV can do a little more to help make the connection between these small holders and big holders. Like right now, all the big holders are kind of siloed into the Citadel, which I think is fine. I think it's important to have a place. I mean, it's a place of the greatest wool holders, but it's also a community. It's also a subset of the community that is down the most in terms of money
Mm-hmm.
collectively.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also important to consider. Like these people are here, like they've been through it. They've lost they've lost money here, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to see, one thing I'd like to see in Wolf Game is a lot more like community and team play in ways that make you, that can't just be whale games.
Sure.
And
Everybody's valuable. Yeah.
in that sense, Alpha Game did a good job of that because I
Yeah.
do think like every sheep mattered in Alpha Game,
Sure.
and I think there's ways to recreate that. Like I'm a big Community 81 holder, and like I would love to be able to do more with like the other holders in my community, whether it's like team up for a peak game
Mm-hmm.
or like do something to harm like our competitive our neighboring communities, or like be incentivized to make an alliance with them in some regard.
Yeah.
Like I think there's other ways that the team can tap into to break up kind of the siloed. It is a little siloed, the big holders and small holders.
Sure.
And I think the team should work on ways, and I think they can do it in game to kind of break up that connection and kind of bring everyone together on certain things, like Alpha Game did.
Yeah.
But it's not. But and in that sense too, like it's kind of tough with this governance vote because the big wool holders have a lot of power.
Yeah.
And in that sense, like you gotta kind of make connections. Like you gotta.
It's a social game.
There's other ways to make your voice heard than having the most wool.
True.
And in that regard, it's like everyone in the community is pretty accessible. Like if you feel strongly about something, you can get a big holder to hear, and if you have a compelling argument, you can get them to listen to you.
Yeah.
So I think small holders are definitely heard. Like I think they're the key to growth for sure. Like the key to growth is not through accumulating whales. It's that bringing in people wanting to buy one wolf, one sheep, one land, one farmer, getting a taste. Yep. So, I mean, it's incredibly important to keep providing value to smallholders. But in that sense, I also like that that governance does drive value to the big holders and kind of rewards them for the time and money and energy they've spent in the Wolf Game.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? It's very important that the Citadel get their voice out there even more frequently rather than just via Discord, right? It's like having this conversation with you right now will help the community see the Citadel's side a little bit more. And you are right. They are down the most collectively. And without them, we really wouldn't have a game, right? So there does need to be a bit of a give and take in this. But I do think, though, there are times when the voice of the Citadel can be very strong and intense. And so if you are not in the Citadel, you're going, whoa, calm down, So I think that maybe changing the platform a little bit, and maybe getting some key members on the Citadel like yourself and, I know Jay Steezy and Big Tig and those guys, that like get them on. I'd love to have you guys on just to kind of hear your voices a little bit more. And at the end of the day, right, you guys care about the game. It's for the betterment of the game. It's not for your own bags. And I believe a lot of people know that, right? So I think if we've got to keep that at heart, which is important. So very cool, man. What about steps that you would take to bolster community confidence in the leadership? Saying like drawing just from your long-term engagement with Wolf Game.
Yeah, I mean, for one, I think this council will be a big boost because all the candidates are great members of the community. Yeah. All the candidates aren't gonna lie to anyone. They're not gonna pump up what's going on just for the heck of it.
Sure.
But I'm sure everyone here wants to see Wolf Game be successful, and we're gonna be excited if we see things that make us think it'll be successful. And I think having those people being able to regain their conviction that everyone had last year, I think from there it can become a bit more contagious. But also I do think PV I do think they need to be a little more forthcoming with and transparent with us, because hopefully once this is behind, they'll have to present to us, and to the council, which means they'll have to present, which means they'll have a good idea of what's coming. Yeah. And so hopefully, once a council meeting happens and feedback is shared, then they can stamp their plan, make it more concrete, and at that point, be more open. What is the direction Wolf Game is heading in? Yeah. Right now, it's not clear, other than speculation based off the space they had, the town hall they had, which wasn't very concrete in terms of detail. There's things you could maybe be excited about, but you would need those details to really be excited about them, because
Sure.
the details are what matters and the things that Goose was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think they need to be more forthcoming, but I also think that the Farmhand Council, and hopefully after a couple meetings, the first meetings,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the first meeting, everyone will be saying, like, there needs to be more communication. The community needs to know more about what's coming. I'm sure that everyone will be fighting for that, as we always will be.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. And that we had Shep before, and we were kept in the dark the whole time. So in that sense, like, TV is coming in with low expectations. I would say we've definitely risen them because, like, G-Funk is a real dude. Goose is a real dude. Like, why aren't they telling us what's going on?
Yeah.
And with Shep, it was kind of like conversation closed. Nothing's coming your way. And we were a little more accepting of that because I don't know why, but we were.
Right. The whole anonymous. Yeah. It's just that whole lore, I think was fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Your background. So what is your background? Did you go to school? Did you, like, what do you do for work? Or are you a professional wolf gamer?
One day. But right now, I graduated. I got my master's degree in accounting 2 years ago.
Okay.
Indiana University. I'm a proud Hoosier.
Hoosier, nice.
I'm excited for basketball season to start back up again.
Yeah.
But I work in IT audit now. I've been doing that for almost 2 years now.
Huh.
And in my free time, so I'm an accounting major, IT auditor, and which kind of and that's why I feel, well, no, I'll leave it at that.
Well, it's interesting too. It's like going from a pretty straight-laced, accounting background, right? Where, you can't turn your brain off. You have a numbers analytical background, and then you're going into crypto, which is a whole nother animal, right? Which we're big believers of. And did you find like a lot of conflict, or like even like maybe your mentors who are opposed to crypto or whatever, they're like, what are you doing, dude, with all this stuff? Like, just go and stay the straight and narrow and just, what are your thoughts?
A little bit, but no, I mean, the reason I wanted to become an accountant when I was in high school, and like why that's what I declared my major as, is because I always was good at math. I always liked numbers.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of why I like Wolf Game, because the white paper was just a bunch of numbers and math.
Yeah.
And same with the wallpaper. Like, it's all numbers. Everything was thought about, calculated.
Sure.
And there's so much. I like data. I like data analysis. And I love that. I like making like data-driven decisions, and I like that Wolf Game allows that platform.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think it's kind of tied together. And also, one thing while I was studying accounting, it's the public ledger it helped. It helped me get more interested in blockchain, because I think the idea of a public ledger is super cool and could be valuable. And actually,
Sure.
I had to write a paper about if you move to Mars, and had to remake the accounting system in the U.S. what we could do. And I spoke about crypto and how I would make everyone's ledger on the blockchain, so that from an audit perspective, like, nothing's easier to audit than the blockchain.
Yeah.
Where everything's there.
Sure.
So,
completely transparent.
And I mean, and the transparency is my main interest in crypto, and the lack of it to be messed with. So I kind of think my major actually helped me gain more interest in crypto.
Interesting. How long ago was that? Not to date you, but like the paper that you wrote, what year was that?
I think it was 2020.
Okay. So like the COVID year, right?
Yep.
But that's really, yeah, that was my kind of down rabbit hole, like really into crypto and NFTs. And, my business was shut down for a long time. And it's like, what the hell am I going to do? All right, I got to start buying crypto and just being freaking risky, right? But once you go down that rabbit hole, it just makes so much sense. It definitely
Yeah,
does.
it's crazy to think. It's actually fun, like thinking back on the journey
Sure.
in this
Yeah.
podcast with you.
Oh, yeah.
It is, once you get into crypto, it is a wild ride for sure.
Oh my God, dude. You cannot explain it to anybody outside. And if they think you're
No,
in it, it's a cult, right? And it's just like it's all so crazy, man. It is. But once you're hooked, which is exactly very cultish. Just like Wolf Game. We
yep.
tend to gravitate towards cults. We love them. So as far as where you would envision yourself playing in the council, would it be more of that, hey, I'm going to analyze the shit out of this, and, would you say that that's like your biggest strong point?
Yeah, I think it would be looking at, I mean, and like if we can I'll talk about the resource exploit for a sec.
Yeah, let's do that.
With
Yeah,
seed, and I'll tie it into this, but like Bolkus is the genius who discovered it and profited off of it. But as soon as I saw that, as soon as I saw it start, I was like, like, is there any other spots it's happening? And I happened to be in Community 81, and I saw that Community 81 has, I think it's the third lowest stone amount out of all the communities. And so it's not nearly as effective as seed phrases, but there is a strong concentration of stone on a semi-select amount of lands in Community 81. So myself and a few other people who just happened to all get lucky and get these lands started accumulating more stone lands in C81.
Love that.
And that's actually a big part of why I made WG leaderboard. But and I think in that regard, it was like noticing that the imbalance and trying to take advantage, which is like the Wolf Game way, in my opinion.
Sure.
And but in terms of what I'd provide to the council, I think it would be like, I guess I didn't tie it together as well as I meant to.
No, I agree. But I think that it goes back to the analytics and being able to find arbitrage and understand if something's laid out in front of you, if it makes sense or not. And that's what I love about somebody of your just knowledge and love for data and numbers, and that you could read something like even the peak paper and be like, okay, where are the holes in this? Like, does it all line up? For somebody like me, I'm reading numbers and I'm like, it's in one ear and out the other. And I'm like, I'm just thinking about, some different ways that I would play the game. But yeah, so I think that that's cool. So that's something that I don't have that strength. So having people like that around me is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Sure.
And but to answer that question more specifically, I do think I would be a valuable add in terms of, because what Shep did that was good about the first two big updates to Valley Game was the farmers market and jugs. Those were the first two like semi big things that came. And both of them were just additive to everyone. Like farmers market, I don't think that had any negative impacts. And jugs was just an addition as well. But in the future, and I think he did a really good job with that, because I was worried that any change that would make would always impact someone negatively, some sort of holder, some sort of bag.
Yeah. It's impossible to make everybody, but these kind of didn't do that, right?
Yeah, and I think that in the future, when PV is sharing with us their thoughts and ideas, I think that I would be good at helping to weigh all the variables against each other and identify areas that would be impacted negatively and those that maybe would be impacted a little too positively, and help guide a balance between those two factors. That's one thing specifically I think I would be good at, because I have a fairly balanced bag. I have wool, sheep, animal structure, land, not too heavy in anything. So I think in that sense, I'd provide like a balanced bag perspective as to how these changes would impact people.
Yeah.
And also I'll be willing to go the extra mile and just see how it would impact everything.
Cool. I like that. Let's go into some rapid fire questions, okay?
Sounds
So
good.
share an unexpected fact about yourself.
Unexpected fact about myself. I'm licensed scuba diver.
Okay, cool. Where was that?
I got licensed in my hometown, but I've been scuba diving. I've scuba dove in Mexico a few times now, around
Nice.
Cozumel and Cancun.
Cool. I went on my honeymoon out in Turks and Caicos, which is fucking ridiculous. That's a whole nother story. But if the council were a sports team, what role would you play, and why is it significant?
I like that. I'd go soccer, and I would be the center back.
Okay.
Because I think I would provide a good, level, grounded approach to things, and be there to anchor the backfield for everyone up front who is pushing forward to get us goals.
Cool. Great answer. Describe a high-pressure situation in Wolf Game that you've navigated and the key takeaway.
A high-pressure situation in Wolf Game. Oh, man. I mean, being on the peak, there's a lot of as much peak games as I've played. And I'm thinking about one I navigated poorly against Bolkus, where he got 70,000 wool from me a couple weeks ago. I'm still working on getting that back. But I will say there has been plenty of people who have been on the wrong side of rematches against me as well. But yeah, other than that, I'm not sure. I went 1 for 2. I went a 50% in risky game, but not much skill in that. But yeah, peak games, I'd say there's been plenty of high pressure moments. Sometimes I correctly call the shocker, sometimes I don't, but definitely feel pretty good when I do.
Sure. What motivates you?
Wolf Game. What motivates me
is it to be the best
in Wolf Game?
Yeah, I mean, you created a leaderboard, so you had that idea, right? And you wanted to see that come to fruition. Was that for the betterment of everybody, or was it like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to win.
Oh, of course yeah, and I think another reason I played so many peak games is because I am a competitive person. I love sports, I love competition, and I love that Wolf Game allows me to tap into that a bit. And the peak especially. So yeah, I think you could say generally I want to be the best. And I think that in Wolf Game, there's many ways to evaluate that, which I like as well, because obviously, generally, whoever has the most assets is going to, produce the most resources. But especially early on, I was comparing myself to people with similar, or if I knew someone had a bigger holdings than me, like that would kind of be my motivation. I was like, okay, like, let's see if I can catch up to them.
Sure. No, that's true. Yeah. Talk about criticism that you've faced that have led to your growth.
The most respect I have for anyone in terms of advice is definitely my dad. And he's definitely growing up. He'd tell me, like, you miss all the shots you don't take. And me, like, I have grown into it a bit. But not a huge risk taker in real life.
You're an accountant, dude. I mean, you're like, one of my best friends is an accountant, and I just call him, he's the breakdown kid. Everything he does, he has to break it down, and it's almost like sometimes it's like, dude, just fucking do it. Just go out and just do it.
Yeah. no, I think like that is, yeah, that's something that I've got that criticism that you, I'd say, would say to your friends, like
Yeah.
just do it. Like
Yeah.
that's definitely something I've heard
It's a
from
blessing and a
people I care
curse.
about.
Yeah, it's a
Yep.
blessing and a curse, right? It's like I wish I had a little bit more of that in my wheelhouse. As I've gotten
Yeah.
older, I've definitely honed in on it. But what would you
Yeah.
say your legacy that you want to be known for in Wolf Game would be?
I just want to be one of the many people who are positively impacting this community and the project's growth.
Yeah.
There's so many people, and I honestly forgot about the impact some people have made until I saw like these nominations go out, and it kind of reminded me. I don't want to be and I won't be the star of the show, but I do want the people who care about Wolf Game like I do to respect me and the contribution I've made and my play as a player, the game I play.
Yeah.
And that's it really, because yeah, there's a lot of people in the community I have a lot of respect for, and having their respect means a lot to me.
Cool. Very cool. Why might you be considered a controversial choice for the council? That's like asking
I don't
somebody their
know.
weaknesses.
It's kind of hard to be self-aware about in a like in a Discord server or in Wolf Game. Like honestly, the amount of people like in the chat, the amount of people you see in the chat, the amount of people you don't even know are there, but like are still reading, the lurkers. Like it's kind of hard because it's not like I can like call up a buddy and be like, hey, like I have no idea what anybody in Wolf Game like thinks of me. Like I have not, I haven't been to a Wolf Game event, unfortunately. So I really have no idea, and because of that, it's kind of a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
But hopefully, hopefully, putting a face to a Discord name will help out.
Yeah, no, and that's all the power to you for jumping on this, man. And that's what's cool about this too, is you bring up the fact of controversial and like maybe the fact that not a lot of people might know you because you're not as active in the Discord, but still you're very active in the game, right? And so like the people that are very active in the game, they know that you're active. It's hard to not pay attention to that, even just by looking at, even the creation of WG leaderboard and like, stepping out of your, being selfless and creating stuff like that, I think is awesome, and so it's definitely appreciated. I know by more of the whales too, because they love that. So
yeah, and honestly, like I love seeing that and I've messed up a little bit. Like sometimes my site's down it was down for a couple of weeks, like a month ago. And but then when people are like, when someone says something about it, I'm like, oh, I gotta fix it. I gotta get it up. Like people care. People still care.
Sure.
So and that's motivating to me. And that's really because like I'm an accountant, I'm not a programmer. So really when I first released it and got some feedback and people making suggestions to make it better, and also just saying how they like looking at it.
Yeah.
That meant a lot to me, and that was great because, like I made it for everyone. Like I made it for I wanted the data, so I wanted to make it, but I also did make it for everyone. So it is fun that the people who are playing the game, who are most like me, people who are playing, like trying to stack their resources.
They want data.
Like, that's who I'm closest with in Wolf Game, and like that's who uses the site. So I do like that part of it.
Yeah, for sure. If you could have any superpower that reflects your gaming strategy in Wolf Game, what would it be, and how would you use it to your benefit, or for the community's benefit in a fun and unique way?
Let's see. I think it would have to be invisibility. I think there'd be in Wolf Game. I think when I'm just thinking of my sheep, my wolves. If I could just my barns. If I could just put the invisibility cloak over them, that would be great. And
Yep.
also, yeah, and also there's times in the Discord when it also would be nice just to be invisible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure, man. Awesome. Any parting words that you have for the voters?
If you vote for me, you're voting for someone who, one, loves Wolf Game, cares about it as much as you do. Two, in the same regard, wants the best for Wolf Game. You know, everyone still here, everyone who'll watch this cares about Wolf Game, and I'm not like, and I feel like many of us, like, I'm not leaving. Like, there's no price that would make me completely exit. Like, I care too much. I've been here too long. And and like, just look at like what you're doing. You're putting in these hours on these podcasts. Like, you can't just pack that up and head out. At least I can't, and
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
agree.
you can't as well.
Yeah.
So you'd be voting for someone that cares about Wolf Game, someone that's been here since the beginning, likes, loves the loves all the data in Wolf Game. I love Valley Game. I love Peak Game. I'm always going to be one of the more active players. And I think in that sense, I think that's a very strong reason in itself to have me on the council. It's that I am in the weeds playing the game. I'm looting sheep. I am collecting with my sheep. I'm breeding. I'm playing the peak. Like, I think in that regard, like, I do have an advantage over most other people because I know the game better. And of course, there's many others that know it too, but I do know the game well, and I think I would be able to help advise the team on how to make it better, or at least make sure anything they do makes it better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my pitch. As I said earlier, it'd be such an honor because there's so many people in the community that are deserving, that are also great candidates, and one to be selected alongside. Yeah, to be selected alongside them would just mean a lot.
Yeah. Well said, my man. Woolish1. I like it, dude. I love the analytics, right? It's all the skills I wish I had more of.
Well, I
But
mean,
that's why I
I'm
surround
sure.
myself around people like you.
Yeah, and that's hopefully what would be great about the council. If there's
Yeah.
people, I mean, and that's what's great about the community. There's, like, in terms of what people do, like, there's someone in like every industry, like doing every job somewhere in the Wolf Game community. And same with the council. Like, there's someone who knows more about something than anyone else in that group.
Yeah.
For probably any topic you could think of. And so it'll definitely be a combination of unique perspectives, although everyone has this common similarity, which is also what makes Wolf Game special.
Sure. And that's what makes a championship team too, right?
Yeah.
And everybody knows their role in this. I think that we all could do a better job at that, is knowing that specific role that we play.
For sure.
And not staying in that role, right? But like, don't get too crazy out of it, right? And stay with what you're good at and what you know. So
yep. Keep
man.
Your ego down.
Yeah, dude. White belt mentality. White belt going on in, right? All right, awesome, dude. Well, it was a pleasure, man, having you on, and it was really cool to get to know you, and for the voters and the audience to hear more from you. I think that it's awesome that you agreed to come on, and you're just putting yourself out there. I love the fact that you're not very known in the Discord area, but you are known in little pockets of Wolf Game, right? So we got a really amazing lineup of candidates, and I don't think we can go wrong with many of them. So
yep, I would agree. I think Wolf Game's in good hands. We didn't get to talk about PV much, but I'm really bullish on their team as well, and
sure,
what they've got going with Battle Plan looks super polished, and I love to see that.
Yeah, have you played Battle Plan?
No, I've been. I was excited. I got the G-Funk follow back when I replied to one of his tweets saying, "Let me in."
Yeah.
But I have some planets, but I'm still stuck on the waiting list for the time being.
Yeah.
So hopefully that changes soon. Have you played?
Yeah, I've played a fair amount. I actually, I was absolutely horrid for the first couple times playing, and then I reached out to some of the community members. I actually did a podcast last week with Control, who's really, really cool, and also Benny Lowkey. Just two really cool guys, really intelligent, know the game in and out, and just the strategy. It's a whole nother animal. But the amazing thing is it's Goose and team, right? And we have the Goose on our side. So it's going to be powerful. So I can't wait to see what the future holds for Wolf Game.
Yeah,
and
so you're bullish
overall.
based off what you've seen on Battle Plan.
Yep.
Yeah, everything I've seen has looked great. Just hard to fully feel the conviction until I've played it myself, but I'm definitely excited too.
Yeah, I could see you really picking it apart in a good way, in the sense of like the strategy behind it. There's a lot of moving parts, and that's what's going to get you. And I love the fact that there is an easy, medium, and hard mode. And they have a really intense leaderboard. And from what I've heard is that the prizes are going to be pretty cool. So again, it's pixel vault. I mean, you gotta. Yeah, it's
hard not to look at hear that and think Peak won't become an exceptional platform, because like you said it earlier, if someone just signs in the Wolf Game today and opts in and gets matched up with me, and a lot of other people are playing right now, they'll probably get wrecked, and that's not a good experience. So
no,
I love hearing that they have easy mode, hard mode.
Oh yeah.
And a way for everyone to enjoy it, not just the best.
Have you read the white paper? The reboot white paper?
I've read a lot. I've dug into it a few times.
Yeah.
I don't know it I don't know it completely, but I'm pretty familiar with most of it, I think.
Sure. I love the Glick ratings and the how they match everybody up, and it's really next level. So yeah, that was when I was pretty much sold on the whole thing. But
yeah, and I haven't read about that part, but I've looked into the distribution of GG a lot with Planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To see if I could get some, and I have got a few, but I love how they've designed that. I think Goose people have marketed Goose as this tokenomics guy, and I think when I read how GG is distributed, I believe it. I think it's a great point, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to be a part of, honestly. So
sure,
I'm really excited to see them release one, because we'll all get to see it and experience it, but two, because hopefully that's also a turning point in Wolf Game development.
Yeah, for sure. Hey everyone, what is up? It is Digital Optimist here. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on Beyond the Den. Quick favor to ask, hit that subscribe button. When you hit that subscribe button, that's going to allow me to attract top tier guests to provide you with the most value possible. Give me a follow over on X at Digital Optimist.